We have today a very, very, very special guest. She has been going viral. Breaking news. Very, very controversial. Savanna Faith Stone, welcome to the Feminists podcast. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Men and women are not equal at all.
Savanna, are you submissive?
Yes. It's funny how people see that as slavery, and it's freedom, actually. You can't marry a feminist at all because it will never work.
If it wasn't for men, feminism would not exist. That's just a fact.
Yes, 100%. I mean, they're the only ones not taking the check from AIPAC. It's very obvious.
What do you think about homosexuality?
It's a sin. It's
I
against
believe it's
God.
a sin. If you were offered a shit ton of money to do OnlyFans, would you ever do it? All right, so before I introduce the next guests, we are going to light up her cigar, and then we can let you guys know who she is. Let's see. Here you go.
Thank you.
Look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Prince podcast. We have today a very, very, very special guest. She has been going viral. Breaking news. Very, very controversial. Supposed to not be controversial, but apparently this day and age, everything is so controversial for absolutely no reason. And we have a lot of sensitive people out there. So I'm very excited to have her. Savanna Faith Stone, welcome to the Prince podcast. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. We have our co-host here, Alec Andrews.
Let's go, baby.
And you know what? Why don't you take a couple puffs just for the camera? Yeah, we got a badass here today. Savanna, why don't you introduce yourself? Just let people know who you are.
Yeah, my name is Savanna Stone, and I am a stay-at-home wife as well as a social media influencer now. I started posting about 2 months ago on Instagram and TikTok, just honestly about common sense in marriage and in relationships and traditional values. And I think it really resonated with people very quickly. And I grew my audience from 0 to over 200,000 on all platforms in about 2 months.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it's been kind of a very quick, turning my life upside down. But
Right.
yeah.
Amazing. And Savanna, how old are you?
I'm 19, turning 20 in a month.
What month is that?
June.
June? What day?
9th.
June 9th. Okay. 19 years old. You started posting, or you've been posting for a while, but 2 months ago you decided to start posting about what exactly?
Traditional values, the lies of modern feminism and how they've poisoned young women in society. And honestly, just the fact that it's okay to like your husband.
Pretty common sense to me. Okay. And so it's been 2 months. You told me earlier today that a month ago you had 10,000 followers.
Yeah.
And today on Instagram you have...
I think 130K?
147,000 last I checked. Yeah. So...
Oh.
Yeah. So she doesn't even know she's blowing up. She doesn't even know. That's amazing. What about TikTok?
I think I'm close to 200K on there.
Okay.
Like 186K or something. I don't know.
I love it. Well, what that tells you is that there's a big need for your message.
Yeah.
And I mean, I see your content. I was in Dubai when I first, stumbled into one of your reels, and I was like, wait, who is this girl? And that's when I reached out and I wanted to do a podcast with you because I think a lot of people need to hear that kind of message. It's lacking right now in society. And I honestly... Feminism is supposed to be pro-women, but I feel like feminism actually against women.
Yeah, it doesn't empower them, it confuses them.
Well,
100%.
And most of the ones that I've met, that I know, that I've talked to, they're miserable.
Yes.
That's just the truth. They're really miserable after a certain age, especially when they're in their prime. They think they have all the time in the world. They slow play their cards. And then by the time they hit 30, they realize that, holy shit, what am I doing with my life? And then it's so hard for them to find somebody who they can settle with. And the one that they can actually get with they're not those guys are not the one they want in general. So it's not like, yeah, you can hook up with a guy, you can meet a guy, you can have fun with a guy, but usually it's very hard for them to get married.
Correct.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, it's what society pushes, right? Like, you graduate high school, you've got to go get a college degree, and you can't get married until you have that college degree. That's what my parents told me growing up, by the way, was
Really?
you have to get your college degree before you get married. So society teaches that to women. Like, okay, well, you have to use your 20s and use your teens to accomplish as much as possible, and children are an inconvenience, and marriage is an inconvenience because it stops you from being as productive as possible. Society wants to utilize women. They don't want them to actually live out their purpose, is the problem. So feminism has pushed so much propaganda that it's made women believe that. And now they're getting into their 30s, late 30s, almost 40s, and they're like, oh, I'm not married. I don't have kids. All that I have to my name is some degree that's not, it's temporary, or some job title, whatever it may be. And then they end up miserable, and they look at all these young women and they're like, damn, I wish I would have just gotten married. Or
So you'd agree that feminism has made women less happy across the board?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where do you believe it went wrong?
From the beginning, feminism was never a good thing. And people will say, the first wave of feminism was great. Like, it gave women the right to vote and it gave women the right to work. I don't want to do any of that. First of all, and second of all, feminism was created to control women. I mean, you look back from the start of it was birth control, basically.
Yeah.
We were told that our reproductive system and our menstrual cycles are not normal and that they need to be medicated. So birth control was pushed on women so they wouldn't have as many babies. They wanted to tax women as well. So, okay, what do we do to create more taxes, to put more money into the government? We put women to work. And we make them pay taxes just like the men pay taxes.
Say it, Ali.
Say what? She's just spitting facts. I mean, there's nothing I can say. She's spitting facts, and I mean, it's just excuse me. They're just playing God. That's what it is.
Correct.
They're playing God.
Yeah.
And I said that on the last podcast I did. A godless society is going to fall.
And look at America.
And America in the past 10, 15
Yeah.
years, the society is just declining. People are miserable. Degeneracy is all over the place. There's no more family values. Correct. They want the men and the women to pay taxes. Back then, a man can make enough money to support a household. Now, you need 2 income, and you don't really need it, but they brainwash you and they sell you on materialistic stuff that you think you need, that you believe that you need to go and work. And the reality is you don't.
Yeah, I put up a post the other day because I get the question all the time in my DMs. That's like, my husband only makes $70K a year. I have to work. I'm like, only?
Yeah.
Do you have 2 cars? Do you need those 2 cars? Do you need that $5,000 a month rent?
Perspective.
Do you need that designer bag that you buy once a year? Do you need to go on all these different vacations? Do you need to go out and drink every single weekend? Probably not. Like, cut your expenses in half, and there you go. You can be a stay-at-home wife.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people
Love that.
live off of $50,000 a year, and
It's
they have
doable.
2 or 3 kids, and they're just very, they just. The best way for me to put it is this: I truly believe that when there's no God in the household, and when there's no God as a foundation, you find everything that's wrong with you, not everything that's right, and people stop counting their blessings, especially in the West. You go overseas, it's not the case. You go to West Africa, the poorest continent in the world. By the way, it's the richest continent in the world, but the West has literally taken all its resources, which make them super poor. But they're the happiest people in the world. I was born and raised there. The happiest people in the world. So you really don't need much if you start counting your blessings and you wake up and you realize, hey, I have my health. I am healthy. I have a family. My kids are healthy. I have food. I have a roof over my head. And the problem is we're brainwashed to want all these unnecessary things. And I mean, listen, we're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it too. Sometimes I buy stuff I don't need. But when you look deep down, yeah, you don't need all of that. And it's a want, not a need. So yeah, I agree with you. You don't need 2 household income. And honestly, I think that having in my opinion, when a man has a woman at home, I think he pushes harder at work. I think I think he's more ambitious. I think he wants to create more. We're wired to want to provide. We're wired to want to protect. That's just in our biology. We had that conversation earlier. And I was telling you, this is something that, when men say we want to go work, like, who do we do it for? Like, honestly, why do we go to work? Why do I spend 12 hours in the office? Why do I call all day? Why do I do coaching calls? Why am I doing this every day?
If it's just for us, we're simple as hell. We can live.
Dude,
in a
I
freaking
can
box,
live
dude.
on the
Yeah,
on the street.
you guys
dude.
can sleep on the floor.
100%. Put me
100%.
anywhere, I'm totally. But why do we do it? We do it for two things. Number one, to impress women or to take care of our women. That's
we
just
show
the
love.
reality. Okay. And then number two, to have status and respect, because it is important for men to be respected by other men. And that's something that we grew up with. But again, in the West, you don't see that often. Men don't care about respect anymore. They don't care about being respected. They don't care about their reputation. They objectify their wives, their women, and they promote it.
Yeah, it's all about pleasure now. And I will tell you this, because I had my own business when my husband and I first got married. And then once we moved back to our hometown, I was like, you know what, I quit. I don't want to do any of this. My husband's always been a hard worker, but the drive I saw in him after that, when it was like, oh, there's no other income, it's just yours, was like, it was like 10 times harder that he worked. So it's just a natural thing. It's like, oh, I actually have to fully provide for this woman now and pay for all our bills.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. I mean,
And it's a great feeling, it's an opportunity to step up and be the man.
Exactly.
And
As
that's
much
what we
as it
want,
can get stressful for men, we need pressure.
100%.
We need that. We strive off of that. And, as much as it might have been difficult for him, I'm willing to bet that he's more fulfilled than ever. He feels a sense of pride. He feels a sense of responsibility. We want you to be dependent on us. We love that. And I know people are like, oh, why do you want her to depend on you? That's how we're wired. I'm sorry, I can't fight biology. All right. We want you to depend on us. We love that. We want to take care of you. We want to show you the world. Right. There's a reason why all these Disney movies that all these people watch and they love, whether it's, Aladdin and Jasmine, I can show you the world. There's a reason why. Cinderella, there's a reason why. That's what we love. That's why a man, I can go right now. If I'm single, right, I can go right now. I can find a McDonald's worker and I can fall in love with her and I can do anything for her.
There it is.
You would never see a woman, or it's very, very rare for a woman to go and, date or marry just a guy at the drive-thru.
Yeah.
They can't do that. Why? Because women want security, stability, safety. Again, they're wired this way. I'm not blaming them and I'm not judging them. That's why when people talk about gold diggers, I'm careful with that word, because I truly believe that it is normal for women to want a man with resources.
Yes.
That is rooted in our biology. So I never judge a woman that asks for those things. Now, when she already has that and she just wants more and she just jumped from this to this to this to this guy, then yeah, she's a gold digger. But in general, I don't judge. Does that make sense?
Me too. Yeah, I 100% agree.
Did you want to comment on that real quick?
No, I love that. I totally agree. And I think a lot of people shame people for the whole gold digger mindset, but you got to look at the way that we're wired and the way that we're built, And no. I'm just curious for you, when you think about the idea of submission in the home from the wife's perspective. Obviously, you don't view that as a bad thing, right? You look at that as a strength.
Well, let's rephrase this real quick. Savannah, are you submissive?
Yes.
To your husband?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Submission gets a bad rep because it's seen as slavery for whatever reason. But submission is a trust and it's teamwork. It means the woman serves the husband and the husband lays down his life for the wife. Simply put.
I love that.
So yes, we make decisions together as a married couple because we are a team. But at the end of the day, he is the head of the household. And I'm going to follow him before I follow my own feelings, because women are controlled by their emotions and men are controlled by logic. So most of the time, actually 100% of the time, he's been right. And every single decision.
You are being condescending right now. Why is that?
Condescending?
Yeah, to other women. How can you say that they can't think logically? Or you're saying they're dumb? Like, what is it?
No, I'm not saying they're dumb, but we do lead by emotion and men lead by logic. That's just a fact.
I was just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, I know.
Let me just try. Come on.
So it's not a sacrifice. Like you don't see it as you're making a sacrifice to be submissive.
No.
Yeah.
It's actually easier. I get to turn off my brain.
Yeah.
Like it's a good thing. He's the one who is the leader of our family. I don't have to constantly be in fight or flight or in survival mode. That's all on him.
So if your husband were to make a decision that you did not agree with or that you did not like, would you still follow his lead?
Well, let me tell you this. There's a couple different areas where I do step in. One of those is people. I think female intuition is really good around people. If I meet somebody for the first time and I don't have a good feeling about them, I will tell him. Most of the time I'm right.
Okay.
And that's just a deep female intuition. But ultimately, it's always said in a respectful way, even if I do slightly disagree with him on something. And at the end of the day, he's the man. Like, I just let him make the decision. If the decision is wrong, he learns from it.
I love that. Okay, so
Yeah.
ultimately it's his decision, whether you
Yes.
like it or not.
Yes.
Understood. Which leads me to my next question or my next point. Does your husband have authority over you?
Yeah.
Clearly he does, right? Because if
Yeah.
you're submissive to him and he's got the last word, he's got authority over you. One thing that a lot of people don't understand is they talk about equality. And I always tell people there's no responsibility without authority.
Mhm.
You can never find that. If I'm going to be responsible for you, I need to have authority over you, right? And a lot of women don't understand this. Why is that?
Feminism.
Feminism.
100%. They think it's some sort of power struggle where the husband is the slave master and a wife is the slave, which is 100% not true at all. But that's what feminism has made marriage to seem like. And I can tell you right now, most of the women that believe that about a submissive marriage are probably unmarried, or they're, in college and being fed by liberal professors and universities. And so, yeah, I don't think that is what submission is at all. And if you are in a healthy submissive marriage, you know that it works that way. That when you follow traditional gender roles, your marriage ultimately is more healthy.
Okay, I wrote something that I wanted to ask you here. I wrote, so do you believe feminism today supports women or who choose traditional roles, or does it shame them for it? Obviously, they shame.
It shames traditional women 100%. And they will say all the time, no, feminism gave you the choice to live this lifestyle. No, it didn't. Feminism pushes a girl boss agenda. It divides men and women. It pushes an anti-family agenda.
True.
And it ultimately confuses women and makes them think that they have to grind and hustle and build businesses and go to work and get the title.
So then I'd love to know, and I'm sure a lot of other women would as well, as to like how you've gotten to this point, this mindset that you have, right? Because it seems as though you've sort of broke the matrix, right? You've kind of broken free from that slavery mindset that a lot of people fall into. What allowed you to get to this point? Is it just you've always been, wanting to educate yourself? I know you've mentioned a little bit your husband has helped a lot with that, but you're 19, right? Were you always this way? Was there a point where you feel you were, kind of on the other side of feminism and then you made that transition? What did that look like?
I wasn't always this way. I would say in high school, I definitely leaned more liberal and feminist. Thank God I couldn't vote. But I think that a lot of young teenage girls probably fall into that category, right? Because they're in high school, they're scrolling on TikTok, they're scrolling on Instagram, and all they see is feminist propaganda. And they're probably hanging around girls and teachers that are professing the same thing. So in high school, I was just around a really liberal group of friends, honestly. And then once I actually left high school my sophomore year and decided to just do online school and like basically teach myself.
Okay.
And once I did that, that was pretty much around COVID, and COVID definitely opened up my eyes because everybody was like, oh, the news is saying we got to get a jab in our arms and wear a double mask and can't see our families and watch our parents die alone. And you're kind of like, that doesn't feel right to me.
Sure.
So I think 2020 was a big like pivotal moment for me where I saw all of the lies that were coming from the left. And just
you were
honestly,
16, right?
I think so. 16,
It's crazy.
Wow.
2020. Yeah.
Very mature.
Yeah.
Okay. The fact that you're curious and you're just digging into it, because a lot of people, as much as, everybody went through COVID.
Yeah.
And some people, they became more, feminists. And then you have you, right? Where you're actually, looking into different opinions and making up your own mind.
Well, and BLM was going on at that time too.
Right.
So it was like you had COVID and Black Lives Matter. And you're like, what the hell is going on? Like, there is actually no way that people are falling into this trap. And so, yeah, that opened my eyes to pretty much everything else that I was being lied to.
I like that you
about.
mentioned COVID. So during COVID, you cannot go to the churches, but you can go and do a bunch of riots as much as you want. Get together,
Yeah.
no problem. But you're not allowed to go to church. You're not allowed to see your loved one before they pass. But you can go and destroy businesses and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Nothing made sense.
Yeah, no, it's just a lot. It's a lot of fun. And then during COVID, you got to get your vaccine. I don't need to get mine, but you want me to get mine. And I'm like, okay, but since when do I need to get vaccinated for your vaccine to work? Because you're telling me that you're in danger even though you're vaccinated.
Yeah.
So you want me to get vaccinated? That means your vaccine doesn't work. And back then they're like, oh no, it works 100%. And then later on, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't
now
guarantee you.
you know how many issues, I mean, we're seeing now? I have a mutual friend or family member who got the vaccine, had to, because she lives in Canada. And now she's in the hospital every single week. I can't even remember what, she now has what is considered an autoimmune disease. I can't remember what it's called, but it's something in the blood. I mean, she can't drink alcohol. She can't eat certain foods. Like, she's the size of a toothpick.
Yeah.
Wow.
Since
She's
the
not
vaccine and the 90 boosters you had to get with it.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Sad. It's very,
Very,
sad.
very sad. Yeah, a lot of people, I mean, even until now. I don't know if you watched the documentary Died Suddenly.
No, I didn't.
You have to
That
watch
is
it.
insane.
Oh, yeah, you have to watch it.
It blew my mind. when
It
you showed me
covers
that.
a lot of the COVID stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But okay, so I wrote another one here. If true equality, because feminists talk about equality, right?
Mm-hmm.
If true equality is about choice, why do some feminists mock women who choose to be homemakers or full-time wives?
Because they're lying to themselves. That's not what feminism is about.
It's not about equality.
No, it's never been about. Well, first of all, let me say this: men and women are not equal at all. We are not equal in roles. We're equal in value, right? We're all children of God,
Yep.
but we are ultimately not equal. We have different roles in society, and we have different purposes. And so the whole equality argument. I mean, if you want to talk specifically and factually, like, we have the same rights that men do. So I don't know why we're constantly just like acting oppressed and acting like we don't have the rights that men do. We actually have more rights than you guys. Like, if I were to divorce my husband right now, I'd probably get the house and everything, and he'd be screwed. So courts favor women. I mean, like, I can go on and on about that, but yeah, I don't really
children,
understand the
usually
argument.
they get the children as well.
Exactly. The house, the car, children,
Yeah,
all of it.
Pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bad deal for us, man. Bad deal. Bad business transaction there.
Yeah. Well, I got a question too, because you obviously experienced the other side. You had this big wake up call in your life, and now you're like, wow, I can see clearly. I understand how traditional values are the way. Now that you are on the other side of that, and you're living it, you've got an amazing relationship at home. Could you maybe talk about some of the positives of experiencing that, like how fulfilled you are every single day, or what it's like for your husband?
Oh, I
You know what I
mean,
mean?
I think the people around me have seen a huge difference in me. Like, the way that I have become a completely different person in the past year is crazy. I think right when I got married, everything changed for me. When you get married, it's like your husband and God are wrapping you in like this hug.
Right.
And you feel so safe and secure. And you don't have that outside of marriage. Like, yes, when he was my boyfriend, I felt protected and I had a man in my life, but there's something so different about marriage. And the fact that I had my own business at one point, and I was on my laptop till 2 a.m. and grinding and thought I had to have this big career and make a ton of money. Leaving that behind has been like a whole other level as well, on top of being married. Now that I don't have to like be in this fight or flight mode. It's just not natural for women. We weren't meant to live that way.
I love that. It's freeing, huh?
Yeah, exactly. It's funny how people see that as slavery, and it's freedom, actually.
I love that. What were women doing 200 years ago? I mean, how were they
200 years ago?
Yeah, let's say like go back 200
What was
years.
that? Fifth
Before the
50s?
internet, before the ACs, before the birth control, before all of that.
That's a
I
great
mean,
thought
they were
experiment.
probably so damn happy. They were probably so much happier than we are now, like scrolling through TikTok and Instagram all day.
With way
and-
less.
What do you think of the argument that not really, because they didn't have a choice? At least now they do have a choice. And
I don't know where people, I think they actually did have a choice.
okay,
And everybody's so obsessed with the word choice. Like, choice is so sexy. And like, I don't really understand that. Actually, when you have boundaries around your life and there's some things that you tell yourself you can't do, that's actually freedom.
100%.
That's why the Bible, like when you actually follow the Bible and follow the principles, your life is better and God's way is always better. And you actually have more freedom because you are living a certain way.
It's powerful. It's kind of like discipline. Discipline is freedom.
Correct.
100%.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, and you said your parents were also, or your mom, you know, she was more like she encouraged you to get a degree, finish school before you get married. How was that relationship now?
I mean, it's fantastic now. I will say during that time, I got several academic scholarships, and I ended up turning them all down and deciding not to go to college. And I was going to go like the entrepreneurial route instead. And at first, my dad definitely didn't like that. Like, he always pushed, like, I do not want you getting married until you have a college degree. Again, I think a lot of men have internalized some feminism.
Absolutely. Tell me about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
We talk about it all the time.
Yeah, it's true. That was like shoved down my throat like my entire childhood.
If it wasn't for men, feminism would not exist. That's just a fact.
Yes. 100%. But yeah, that was kind of a hard conversation that I had to have with them about not wanting to go to college. And then shortly after I told them I wasn't going to college, I was like, oh, by the way, I'm getting married at 18 too. And like, we're going to get engaged and then married 3 days later. And I'm not going to do a wedding. And my mom.
You did not want to do a wedding?
That's simple.
That's badass.
My mom, like, I think she probably had a heart attack and just didn't show me, or like she probably like cried.
She didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, she's just very like in front of me. She's very emotionally stable, but she probably had a hard time with it. But in the end, like now that we've been married for a little bit over a year, I think they've seen like, wow, like they really love my husband. They've seen the life that we've built together, and they've seen like how happy we both are and how healthy our relationship is. And I think that that's changed their perspective on that.
That's amazing. You said that you used to model, right?
Yeah.
How was that? And that contradicts everything that you believe today. Am I right? Did you not
Yes
believe
and no.
that? Okay, go ahead.
Yes and no. By modeling, I was like apparel, right? Like it's not, like OnlyFans, by the way. Yeah, I did like bridal gowns. I did formal wear. I did apparel. It was just kind of like normal modeling, not Instagram modeling or anything sexual or weird. So yeah, that was my job. I started doing that at the age of 13, very, very young. That's the industry I thought I was going to go into. Turned out to be an extremely liberal industry. And every time I would post about Trump or whatever it may be, I would like get a comment from my agencies or a client, and they'd be like, we no longer want to work with you. And I'm like, okay, bye.
Wow.
Sorry, you're not silencing
so,
me.
you mentioned OnlyFans.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned OnlyFans, right? So if you were offered a shit ton of money to do OnlyFans, would you ever do it?
No. They make a shit ton of money on OnlyFans.
Especially now with the following and all the engagement. So no amount of money in the world would convince you to do something like this.
No.
Okay, why is that? Is it the value? Is it a tradition?
You can't buy me. Like
Can't put a price on Savanna.
Yeah.
I love that.
You can't. My values are too strong, and I won't fold for money.
God
it's not
is the foundation.
To me. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, well, your husband, we haven't talked much about him because I wanted to keep some of my questions for the podcast. What is he like? Describe your husband.
Masculine, driven, strong-minded, strong-willed, but also with me, like very gentle in spirit and kind and loving and supportive.
I'm assuming God-fearing.
Yeah.
Understood. And we talked also about, and this is going to get a little controversial, but I'm okay with it. If we get canceled, we get canceled. Candace Owen.
Let's go. I feel like we're probably both already canceled from a certain group of people.
we definitely are.
Yeah, already past that.
Okay, so what do you think of Candace Owen?
I love Candace Owens. I think she is one of the only conservative / right-wing influencers anybody should be listening to.
What about Tucker Carlson?
I like Tucker.
Okay.
I do. Yeah, and I like his stance on Israel, just like Candace.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, you mentioned the words or the name of the country. Is it a country? I don't know.
Yes.
But I don't know. But very cool. So their stance on Israel is very firm. Why do you think these are the only two Republican conservative that are willing to fight that war? Because most people say honestly it's a battle that is not winnable.
I mean, they're the only ones not taking the check from AIPAC. It's very obvious.
Look at Keith's face. All right.
Well, yeah, they refuse to be bought out, I believe.
Yeah.
I think you look at Ben Shapiro, he's taking money from OnlyFans, taking money from AIPAC. I mean, Charlie Kirk, I don't really know what his situation is, but for some reason he feels like he needs to defend Israel because of the Bible. So yeah, those are the only two to me. I mean, you think of like Dan Bilzerian and Andrew Tate. There's a couple more, but those are the only two to me in the conservative sphere who actually use critical thinking skills. And I think to be able to criticize your own party shows a really high sign of intelligence, because you're not just taking everything they spoon feed you and then pouring it back out.
What's your counter argument against people that, relate what's happening in Israel with the Bible, or use the Bible as an excuse or as a explanation for murdering?
That's a great question.
Civilians.
I mean, I would say the Bible doesn't say support Israel and continue to support Israel even while they're murdering 20,000 children and building hotels on their dead bodies. It doesn't say that in the Bible. And so we have to like come to a point where it's like, okay, where do we like draw the line? Because they're doing exactly what abortion is doing, right? They're killing children. And I won't ever stand for killing children. I would never support a nation that is killing children. Also, I mean, they give $100 million every single election year into our elections. They're fueling our elections.
To both parties?
No.
No, to both parties. They donate to the Republican Party and the Democratic Party.
Yes. So you have to know that they control our elections. They also control the media. Bibi Netanyahu has said that himself. Yeah. So where do you think, like, who do you think's pouring into the media, and who do you think's telling us to stand up for Israel? Literally, Israel is telling us to stand up for Israel.
100%.
And they'll take down any content that's against them.
Why do you think you can criticize your own government? You can criticize Trump, you can criticize America, but you can't criticize Israel.
If you want to know who rules over you, look for who you can't criticize.
All right. Punchline right there. That's a real. Okay, let's shift away so that the whole podcast doesn't get banned. But okay, why is it considered progressive to work for a boss 9 to 5, but oppressive to serve and build a family with a man you love?
I don't know. It's such a weird dynamic, right? Like, to me, slavery would be sitting in a cubicle from 9 to 5, staring at an Excel spreadsheet, answering emails, getting a 30-minute unpaid lunch break. That sounds like hell to me. What doesn't sound like hell is like cooking for my husband all day barefoot in my kitchen. That sounds like freedom versus the latter. That's
fair. Okay. Yeah, I mean, when you look into that argument, and I've had that conversation with a lot of women that work a regular job, and I'm like, you say you don't want to listen to your husband because he's not your boss, but then you have a boss, and whatever he says you do, he can blackmail you. He can tell you you're fired. He can fire you whenever he wants to. You do a bad job, he can put you in your place.
Yeah.
Taking orders from him.
He can raise your paycheck or take it away. All that control, but you want your husband, who you're doing life with, to have a little bit of authority over you for your own protection.
Yeah.
Whether he's right or wrong. And that leads me to what I told you earlier when I said to you, are you okay with, is he the final decision maker? And you said yes. And what I like about that is I believe that obviously not every man is worthy of leading, especially in the West. So I can understand why some women have to do certain things, have to work, have to whatever, right? I don't always blame the woman. Actually, if you think deeply into it, maybe I should, because they're the one that are picking the man. They're picking the wrong man. So they're pretty much responsible for it too.
Yes.
With that being said, not every man is worthy of leading. But I believe that once you have a man worthy of leading, isn't that love and faith? Whether you understand the decisions he's making, whether he's like, hey, pack your stuff, we're leaving, we're moving, we're going to this country, to this state, I'm doing this. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but isn't it the whole point of faith and love and your decision to do life with somebody?
Yeah. The beautiful part of a marriage, right, is it's the only thing that exemplifies Christ. Like, Christ, just as the husband, would lay down his life for his bride, which is the people, which is the church. So how can you not, that is the closest, marriage is the closest you will ever get to showing the world what Christ's love is like. And that includes the submission. And submission isn't submission until you don't like it. It's the same with Christ. When we submit to Christ, submission isn't submission until you don't like it. My pastor has actually said that, and it's in my mind over and over, because it not only applies to your marriage, because sometimes I might not agree with what my husband says. Ultimately, he has the final decision. When we submit to Christ and to God, there's a lot of things in the Bible that we don't like, right? Like a lot of it is offensive. People don't like it. But when you're like, okay, well, I'm going to submit to God and just trust what he says.
Absolutely.
Your life actually goes better. It's the same way in a marriage. When a woman submits to her husband, ultimately, like, the marriage is healthier.
Well said.
Thank you.
You have you started a subscription-based business, or it's not out yet. It's
Coming
about to come
soon.
out.
Yes.
Coming soon. Stay tuned, guys. And the name of the business, can we call it a business?
Yeah.
Of your coaching program, right? Is
The Submissive Society.
the Submissive Society. What is it exactly? What are you going to be, doing? Are you coaching women? Are you coaching everybody? What is it? What is your goal?
I mean, it'll be women specifically, but I get an influx of questions in my DMs every single day that are asking for advice, and they will be very long paragraphs that I would love to read through and respond to every single message, but I don't have the time in my day to do that. So I've created something to where we can jump on Zoom calls every single week. These women can ask questions. They can ask each other questions. Ultimately, like, I'm the host of the Zoom. We're going to do book clubs. We're going to read, books like Occult Feminism and Hollywood Babylon, and books that actually are against
feminism.
the government. Yeah.
Okay.
Feminism and the government. And then of course, I'll have a few ebooks in there as well.
Isn't that considered a job?
Sure.
And when you're saying you don't want to work, you want to be a stay-at-home wife, you're working.
Yeah.
How come?
I kind of fell into that. I mean, and I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with a woman making money. The problem is that society tells us that it should be our priority.
You will never make that a priority over your household.
Yes.
Over your marriage.
Yes. So the Proverbs 31 woman, and why I like to bring this up, is she was very entrepreneurial. Like, she made clothes, she sold them. She made goods, she sold them. So obviously, it says in the Bible that she made money for her family, but it was family focused. The only reason that she did that was for the family, not so she could achieve a certain title, not so she could find her worth in monetary value, but to uplift her husband and protect her children.
I love it.
Yeah.
Foundation was there. What are some of the questions that you typically get? I'm sure it's all wide spectrum, right? But when you have women that are reaching out to you, what are some of the maybe top types of questions, one or two questions that you typically get?
One of them for sure is just struggling with the submission part.
Okay.
Becoming more feminine in such a masculine world. And then just honestly, some reach out and they're like, I can't stand when my husband does this. How do I get around it? Or how do I communicate?
Can you give an example?
Just certain things. I mean, I got one the other day where she was like, I can't stand, and I actually responded to this one. She said, I can't stand when my husband leaves his clothes on the floor in the bathroom. It's driving me nuts. Like, what do I do? And I said, just pick them up.
Love it.
That is the least, and I think that's such an issue in marriages, is people get annoyed with the littlest tiny thing. Every night when my husband takes a shower, he leaves his clothes on the bathroom floor, and I just pick them up and I go put them in the laundry room, because guess what? The laundry is my role in the household. So before you get married, it's a really good idea to be think of the stupidest little things and just be like, who is going to do this in our marriage? And then it makes everything just smooth and seamless.
So you think they're just overreacting over, obviously, stupid
Yeah,
stuff?
it's he won't stop leaving his plate in the sink, but just put it in the dishwasher.
Yeah, and do you think that all stems just because there's a lack of submission? And if they could just understand
yeah,
that.
or there's this thought that he thinks that I'm beneath him because he leaves his clothes here.
Got it.
No, he was just at work all day and just wanted to get in the shower and wasn't thinking about putting his clothes in the laundry room. Who cares?
Yeah, I always say, we can go and we can put a rocket in space, but ask me to make a baby bottle, and I'm like, I'm launching.
Yeah,
something,
it's not it's not natural. And I'm sure too that I've left my shoes by the door, and my husband has probably put them in the closet. He does things for me all day, and I probably don't notice them.
Right. You
so
mention, he doesn't mention that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
That's
what would you say the term? Because you call yourself a trad wife, right? You went viral for being a traditional wife.
Yes.
Okay. What does that mean? What is a traditional woman?
So I don't really, the buzzword trad wife kind of confuses me. I didn't label myself as that. New York Post did, but
Got it.
I would call myself a traditional wife.
You're a traditional wife.
Yes.
And the New York Post is where you were published, right?
Yeah, Fox News and the New York Post kind of did like the same article, but there's this buzzword called trad wife, and I never really like thought of it. I just would say I'm a traditional wife, like I have traditional values, but apparently there's like all this stuff tied to being a trad wife. So
like,
oh, like you dress like you're in the 50s, and they only like they mill their flour, and they don't wear makeup, and they don't, you know, get procedures done or whatever. So there's like this whole buzzword.
It's their way of labeling it and making
yeah,
it
they have to put
bad.
everybody into a little box.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
no, I'm just a traditional woman.
what would you say the biggest red flag in a woman is for any man out there? Because you know
Biggest red flag.
biggest red flag. Oh, you know, just some of the red flags.
I mean, 100% number one is if she's a feminist. You can't marry a feminist at all because it will never work. Number two, and I actually said this on another podcast, if she's been to Miami, Dubai, or any other party city.
Okay.
I love it.
Yep.
Number three, like OnlyFans, sex work, anything promiscuous, even like the Instagram modeling, where it's literally just, maybe it's like innocent photos, but it's just bikini photos, and
Yeah.
like for what reason? And they've got like millions of followers, but there's no value in their content.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like odd, and like, you know, what are their followers looking like?
Would you have any sort of message to maybe some women that have gotten trapped in that at a young age, and they're listening to you now, and they're like, wow, like they're starting to wake up some of the things you're talking about right now, like something you would share with them, a word of
Turn away from it and turn towards God immediately. Like drop it all. And if you have to, like delete social media, stop scrolling, because that's where people are getting this propaganda from, is social media. So if you have to, and you need just to silence the noise, turn it all off and open your Bible.
get extreme about it. Go all in. Yeah.
What about, you know, girls' night out? Is that okay?
No.
Why not?
I don't like girls' nights out, and I don't like girls' trips. Either one. I don't go on girls' trips. I think that's just weird. What's the point? That sounds like you know, like bachelorette trips and bachelor trips. Same vibe, right? Girls' nights out, I don't really understand why you need to go out. I'm speaking specifically for married women or women in relationships. There's no reason that you need to go to a girls' night out with a bunch of girls who are most likely single while you're married. You're just setting yourself up for failure.
What good can come from that?
Exactly.
So no girls' night out, no girls' trip. Why are you like putting these women in prison and like oppressing them and stuff?
It's not oppressive.
Not oppressive?
No, I mean, it's protecting your marriage. And as far as girls' trips, I mean, I'm sure there are some wholesome girls' trips, right? Like there's women's Bible retreats. Go do all those.
Right.
But when you're taking a girls' trip to Miami or Nashville or Vegas, come on.
Right.
Like what are we doing?
Right. Okay. Understood. It's not very, you know, traditional or feminine to smoke a cigar. How come you're smoking?
I think cigars are really classy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like I don't see anything wrong with it. People will call it masculine, but I think it's classy.
Fair.
Okay. Do you believe in male-female friendship?
No.
Why not?
When you're married, and there are some specific cases, whatever, but I'm just going to do a generalization. When you're married and you say that another guy is your best friend, no, your husband is your best friend. Like that is your life partner. It would be so weird if I, you know, called one of my guy friends and was like, do you want to go grab coffee tomorrow at 11 a.m.? And it was just me and him, you know, getting coffee together casually as friends.
Maybe a cigar wouldn't be weird, right?
There's no
Have a
reason.
cigar? No.
I mean, no, not with just come smoke a cigar with me. No, that would be so weird.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's common sense, and I don't really know why that's a controversial topic, but
it is very
work.
controversial. I mean, most women, they're like, no, it's like no big deal. Like, they're like, he's my best friend. He's there for me. And what is the value exchange there? Like, what is it to gain from? Like, what does the man gain from a relationship with a woman that is not his girl?
Nothing.
What does the woman gain?
Nothing.
Nothing?
I mean, maybe some like emotional validation, but that's just gay and weird. Like, you don't need that from a girl. I don't know. Like, I don't
True,
mind.
but what does the woman get? I agree with you from the male perspective.
Attention.
Okay, attention.
Yes.
Okay, what else? That's it.
I would say the main reason is attention or some sort of like person to run to when they're having a bad day.
Okay.
Validation. Yeah.
Okay. My argument with that is that men really get nothing. That's just a fact. I mean, if you're not being sexual with the person that you're hanging out, I mean, the other sex, it's like, I don't believe there's anything to gain. But from the woman perspective, I feel like there's a lot to gain. Or like, for example, men will, like when they have a problem, they're going to ask the guy for help. When they need money, the guy is there. When they're breaking up with their whatever, you know what I mean, obviously they're shooting themselves in the foot too, the women, by doing that. So I guess they're not really gaining much. But I just feel like from a man's perspective, there's definitely a lot more for the woman to gain than from the men. Do you agree with that or no?
I would agree with that, but if you're gaining all this value from a man, you might as well be his girlfriend or marry him. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. That's definitely one way to look at it. Okay, how do you handle criticism from those who disagree with your lifestyle?
I just don't read it.
You don't read their comments, their DMs. What about personal, like family members, sisters, brothers? You don't have a brother, you have a sister, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, family, cousins. Have you had any criticism from them?
Probably behind my back more so, but I just stand on business when they bring it up. I mean, I had a conversation with my mom a couple weeks ago, and she called me and she was going to complain about my dad, and she's like, well, actually, I probably shouldn't complain about your dad because you said not to complain, for women to complain about their husbands. And I was like, yep, I don't want to hear it. And she's like, well, sometimes women just need to vent. Like, they need to just vent to other women. And I was like, well, why don't you go vent to dad? Like, whatever's bothering you, just tell him about it. When I'm pissed off at Noah for whatever reason, I just tell him. And he does the same with me. We don't go to our friends and say, guess what Noah did? That's so middle school to me. Like, it is. It's so odd.
And it creates conflict because usually the person that hears your side doesn't hear the other person's side, and will stand by you and will support you. And I think a good friend usually asks for the other side too. Like, or I don't want to hear it, go back to him. Make it work. You guys are together for a reason, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's perfect, no relationship. That's the kind of advice you want to hear from a friend when you're going through something in a marriage, in a relationship in general. What is the biggest, or what are the biggest misconceptions people have about your lifestyle?
That's a good question. Again, I don't really read the comments, but I mean, a lot of people think that my husband is super controlling, and like, somebody commented today because I made a video from my hotel, and someone was like, I wonder if her husband kicked her out of the house and she's in an apartment or a hotel. I'm like, where do you guys come up with this stuff?
That is funny. But
do you have stuff like that?
But any other like specific misconception, like, okay, he's controlling, you're oppressed. I guess I don't know how to put it, but a lot of people that don't understand your dynamic with your husband, might think these two things, oppressing or controlling, but also, like, is he allowing you to work? Is he allowing you to do certain things? Because obviously you travel for certain things that you want to do. You told me you went to Miami, but you were with him, right? And then you did the Fresh and Fit podcast. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about that. What do you think of the Fresh and Fit podcast?
Well, to answer your question about my husband, he's super supportive of everything. I mean, he's protective in a way that he's like, you need to be aware of your surroundings. Call me if anything's weird. Like, he's super protective and wants to support me and all those things. And of course, like, when I am traveling, we're making decisions about who I'm working with and where I'm staying and et cetera and so forth. So there is a level of protection there, but he's definitely not controlling. And then Fresh and Fit was very interesting. I actually, I messaged Myron because I saw him on Jubilee on Fit versus Fat, and he was just so blunt and honest, like telling fat people that they're fat because they eat too much, not because they have an insulin issue or whatever the hell they say they have. And so as soon as I saw him, I messaged him on Instagram, and I noticed that he had a podcast. I had never listened to Fresh and Fit before. And I was like, I want to come on your podcast. And I didn't know what it was about, really. Like, I didn't know that he just has a bunch of sex workers around the table and then roasts them. And so I get to Miami. They have another special guest on the show. So they just thought that I was like another rando 304 off the street.
OnlyFans.
Like, yeah, exactly. And then they're like, we're going around the table because it's like a 4 or 5 hour podcast. It's super long. We're going around the table. Everybody has to give an introduction. And everyone's, I think you have to give like your body count, your occupation, your age, and marital status or like relationship status.
Did you give your body count?
I did.
What's your body count?
2.
Okay. I had to ask if
a high school mess up. That was the only other one. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna be honest on it. Whatever. Like, I get it's the theme of the show. Yeah. But yeah, everyone was like, yeah, I honestly lost count. My body count, like, it's over 100. I know.
Damn. Insane. That is crazy. Okay, and what about when you're on a show like this, and they did not expect you to have the takes that you had, right? They didn't know your mindset. They hadn't watched any of your videos. Am I right? Or they knew who you were?
No, I don't think. Maybe the producer had gone on my page, but I know the 2 hosts didn't know who I was.
Myron and Fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a question. What do you say to women that say they have a hard time finding the right man? Or they're like, oh, your relationship is not realistic because there's not, any good men out there, things like that.
Great question. Yeah.
Well, number one, they have this mindset already that all men suck because it's so pushed by feminism is like, we must hate men. They all suck. It's so rare to find a good one. I actually think there's more good men in the world than there are good women.
Wow.
And I think that most of the time they're not the person that's ready to attract a high value man. They're probably like, are you at church or are you at the club?
I was gonna say they're looking at the wrong place. Wrong place.
Yeah.
So any tips for those women, what they can do to better position themselves? That maybe they're it's going over their head. They're like, they're lost. They suck.
I mean, become wife material. Follow God. Get off social media if you need to. Get off the dating apps. Stay at church and not at the club. That's not where you need to be looking for good men. I mean, I think it's really simple. I think that once you become wife material and somebody who's like ready to attract that type of man, that it just kind of happens naturally and starts online.
Amazing.
I know you mentioned some of those already, but what do you think is the most rewarding part of being a traditional wife?
Just the fact that my marriage is so healthy because I follow the roles that were designed by God, and it works. If you follow what God has ordained, it just works.
Yeah.
So you're big on gender roles?
Yes.
Okay. How do you see your role evolving as you get older? A lot of people say you're 19 years old, you don't know what you're talking about, you're immature. Why should I take advice from you? And what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I answered this question on a Q&A actually yesterday, and it's like, okay, if I was a 19-year-old millionaire, for example, like everybody would be running to my page, please give me business advice. How did you scale your business? Like, how did you make so much money? How are you so successful? But as soon as I'm like, yeah, I'm a 19-year-old wife, like they're like, no, you were groomed. Like, I'm not going to take advice from you. You were groomed. You've only been married a year. You're only 19. You don't know what you're talking about. And those are women that are just like resentful towards their husbands, or they're single. Most of them are actually single, the ones who say that I'm not qualified to give advice. So if I have something that you don't have, wouldn't you want to learn from me because I achieved it at such a young age? Same thing if I had a super successful business and maybe you're 35 and you want the same thing. You're going to be like, how did you achieve that so young? It's the same thing with my marriage.
What if the argument is you've been only married for a year? Like you don't know
Same
if it's gonna
principle.
work. Same principle.
With the business. Divorce is not an option for us. Period. It's just not an option.
No matter what.
It's just so normalized in today's society that people are like, well, what if you get divorced? Like, have you thought of that? No, honestly, I haven't thought of it. It's not an option for us.
Do you feel that is actually something I'm curious about in our road? Do you think social media accurately represent your lifestyle, or is there more to the story?
I mean, there's definitely more. I don't think I post a lot of my like lifestyle per se. I don't do like day in the life or whatever. There's a lot more to my life that's not shown on social media. I think that if people actually saw my life, they would be like, wow, this is a really healthy marriage, and I aspire to have this.
I have a follow-up question on that. Do you see yourself continuing in this like path when it comes to being a traditional woman when you have children? Like, what does that look like?
I mean, with children, that'll be probably even more based than I already am.
I think so too.
Like,
if you're already based now,
I think I'm going to be a menace when I have children. Like, you're not going to the doctor's office. You're not going to school. Yeah, I can't wait.
So yeah, Savanna, I have a question, and I'm genuinely curious about this because I've personally, experienced some struggles with this in my own life, and I know a lot of couples. You've mentioned many times you're very open about your faith with Christianity, right? And it's clear now that we've had this discussion. That's the foundation of your life with everything.
Yeah.
And that's what allows you to, have these strong opinions, these strong beliefs based off that foundation. How do you keep your marriage so centered on Christ when the culture constantly is pulling against that?
I would say that praying together every single day has been like the foundation. That's a non-negotiable and non-negotiable in our marriage. And there's a statistic, and it's like 1% of couples who pray together every single day end up divorced. So you have 1%.
1%ers
who pray every single day get divorced. So there's a 99% chance that if you pray together as a couple every single day, you will not get a divorce. And if you keep Christ at the foundation and the center of your marriage, there's no way.
Yeah, because what's the divorce rate right now?
70%, 75%.
Mm-hmm. It's really high.
Yeah, that's a very interesting stat. I did not know that.
Yeah. We learned that in premarital counseling, and so that's why it's always been just something that we.
Was that a big part of it too? Would you recommend for a lot of couples to do premarital counseling?
100%. But I wouldn't go. I mean, obviously, go to somebody who's faith based. And then we took a Submissive test, which is save your marriage before it starts.
Okay.
And then we had them it was actually another couple. They did it fully for free, just out of the goodness of their hearts. They like to mentor couples just out of love for marriage and for Christ's way of marriage. And so we took that test. They kind of proctored it and went through the test with us. It actually tells you what your survivability rate for marriage will be, how compatible you are with that person, where you're going to struggle in marriage, where my struggle is going to be and where his is going to be, what we're going to argue about, different personality traits that are going to be kind of a struggle. It just prepares you for marriage, honestly. And it was 100% accurate. Now that we've been married for a year, I can say that. Yeah.
That's amazing. Now I'm curious too, because do you believe the churches should take some responsibility here? Do you believe, modern churches are too afraid to speak up on some of these topics regarding masculinity, feminism, things like that, and that's a part of the problem?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. The church, I will shout out my church just because they're amazing, and you can watch them on YouTube. It's Church of 1122. They're based in Jacksonville, Florida, but Joby Martin is my pastor, and he does not hold back, and he takes a lot of crap for it, but that man is just so straight up about traditional gender roles, about the things that are happening in society, and how churches have become honestly so progressive, and they're just kind of conforming to the culture to please everybody. I mean, now you see LGBTQIA plus pastors. What?
How is that even
How is that
possible?
You're not a pastor. Sorry, you should not lead a church.
Well, I think that's, and I think a lot of people are confused. I was a bit confused growing up with, finding my faith and understanding because, I went to different churches and it was every church had a different message, it wasn't congruent. So do you think people should definitely find a church and rely on that as their main source? Or do you think people need to just, go back to the word, read the Bible, what are some tactical things that people can do at home to just not fall into that trap? Because people might go to a church and not know that they're being misled, right? They might think that they're getting, information that they should build their life upon, and maybe that's leading them in the wrong direction. So how can people become more aware of these things, and what are some things that they can do?
So what I love about my church is he teaches the Bible, right? It's not his opinion added with the Bible. It's not opinion plus Bible. It's literally just Bible.
Straight up Bible.
So if your pastor isn't preaching the Bible, then it's a no-go for me. You got to get out of there. That's not your church. And the Bible offends people. And if you're not offended when you go to church a few times throughout the messages, that's probably not the church for you. I'm somebody who likes to be called out. I want to know the truth. And I don't want to go to church and feel good all the time. I often leave church in tears Because I'm like, wow, like that convicted me so much. Like,
That's
I mean, he
awesome.
was talking about tithing last week and how like who are we to just like think that our money is ours and not give it back to God who has blessed us with it in the first place. And I'm like, we don't tithe enough. And he's like, look at your expenses and your expenses show who your idol is, what your idol is, right? So like
That's
if most of your money is going
powerful.
to material things or clothes or designer stuff or vehicles, whatever it may be, that's your idol.
That's powerful.
Yeah. And
I
I'm
love
like,
that.
okay. Now when I look at my expense sheet, like that percentage to tithing and to giving to the church needs to be my highest expense.
I'm going to reuse that one, and I'll definitely give you the credit for that one. I love that.
my pastor said that too, but yeah.
Shout out to him. That's huge.
Yeah, that like hit me to my core, but it's the truth.
Yeah. No, I love it because I know a lot of times the topics are, regarding feminism and all these different things, but I think it's underrated or underestimated that it all goes back to your faith,
Yes.
And I know a lot of people are lost and, they might not believe in God, they're atheists, whatever it may be. So yeah, anything that we can give people some, some hope, some clarity, I think it's very important.
Yeah.
That has to be the foundation. I mean, we've
Yeah.
been talking about this for 2 years.
Every time we have a deep conversation, by the end of the night, it always comes back to God, and
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've had moments where we're like, are we like what is going on here? And I remember, in moments of doubts, like what do I always say? You do your part, leave the rest in God's hand. But you got to do your part. You can rely on Him when you're not doing your part. And at the end of the day, the relationships that we have with partners, people we do business with, a lot of it, we're like, okay, they have some control over us, but then we have to remind ourselves that God is in control, not them, right? God is in control of my paycheck, not them.
Mhm.
God is in control of my
like the
destiny,
faith.
not them, right?
Mhm.
And you just have to stick by your values and be willing. A lot of people don't speak up because they're worried about losing business deals.
Yeah.
And I know them. I see them every day. And we always talk about this. I'm like, I would never compromise my values for money or for success. Never. As a matter of fact, I don't even call that success because once you compromise your values, you are not successful. You can have all the money in the world. That is not called success.
Yeah.
So we got to also define the word success.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It doesn't equal money because I could start an OnlyFans right now and make $200K a month.
100%.
And people could say that's successful. To me, that's not successful. That would ruin all of my relationships, my self-worth, my value,
You're a
my
broke person with
relationship
money.
with God.
Well, that's literally
Yeah.
called selling your soul.
Yes.
I believe that anybody that is compromising their values has sold their soul. It doesn't have to be the way Hollywood describes it, where you have to sign blood, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I believe that there's so many forms of selling your soul. And the most basic way to define it for me is you doing something that goes against your values and you're willing to do it for a paycheck or to please somebody. And yeah, just compromising your values, by default, you're selling your soul.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I mean, it'd be great to hear too, kind of like your take on your definition of success. I know we talk a lot about gratitude and living your life to your full potential, right?
Yeah, that's what I say. I mean, the definition of success for me is living your life to its full potential without compromising your values, but more importantly, achieve your full potential without compromising your values. There's a lot of uncertainty that happens when you're doing business, when you're growing, and during those uncertainties, you sticking to the plan and understanding that God has your back, to me, is the most powerful feeling in the world. You have
Yeah.
all the stress in the world. You're maybe panicking. You're overwhelmed. But as soon as you remember that, I feel like all the weight just goes off of your shoulders. Like, and you just feel super light. You know what? I've done my part. As a matter of fact, from my experience, and I'm sure you will be able to relate to this. Most people, when you don't do what you're supposed to do, when you you go to bed at night, you've taken some shortcuts. You've been lazy today. You haven't been productive. You've taken it easy, and you sleep like shit because you haven't done your best. But when you do your best, whether or not there's a result that same day, whether or not you get a reward right away, I mean, you sleep like a freaking baby.
Yeah.
You've done your part. You rest
Yeah.
your head on that pillow that evening. You're like, you know what? I've done my part. God, you're in control of the rest. I know I've done my part. That's it. Now,
That's all you can do.
100%. But now I tell men, don't you dare say, hey, God, help me when you're not doing your part. And I always tell men, we always say, trust in God, trust in God, trust in God. But can God trust you? Can God use you to do some good in this world?
Yeah.
I believe that God will bless you when you have the right intentions. I believe that God will bless you when you're making an impact. I believe that God will use you if he believes that you are worthy of being trusted by him. That's what I truly believe. But that's my definition of success.
Yeah, well, he gives you a certain, it's like the parable of the talents, right? Where like one buried all his talents and one used them. Or I guess there was 3. I can't remember that exact parable, but like God gives us a certain amount of skills and gifts. And if we fail to use them out of fear or control, which is what the one that hid all his talents did. He was like, I don't want anybody taking these, so I'm going to go bury them and hide them. But it's like when you do that, you're not living up to your full potential and using the gifts that God gave you. So how is he supposed to bless you and to use you?
I love that. And that leads me to gratitude.
Yeah.
Because also gratitude is living your life to your full potential. If you're sleeping in, you're smoking weed, you're playing video games, you're not grateful. You can tell me all you want you're grateful. Your actions will tell me whether or not you're grateful, not your words. You can sit here and tell me, yeah, I'm grateful, God is great, blah, blah, blah. Show me what you're doing. Yeah. Are you sleeping in? Are you smoking weed? Are you not providing for your family? Are you not going to war every day? You have the luxury right now, and that's the problem, I think, with society, especially with the West, because some countries are in survival mode. And I gave the example earlier of going back 200 years ago. But seriously, you go back 300 years ago. If you don't go hunting, your family doesn't get to eat every day.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to go hunting every day. That's what we're built for. Men are built for going hunting every single day. The problem is people get a paycheck these days that can last them a week, a month, maybe a year. So they're like, I'm going to take it easy. You're not grateful anymore.
Yeah.
You're supposed to hunt every day. I'm not saying don't take a break, don't go on vacation, don't do some fun stuff. You got to enjoy your life. However, we're supposed to be hunting every single day. People have the luxury now to be like, oh, I just made a $5,000 paycheck. We have clients that are making $100,000 a month, right? We're coaching them. Some of them making $1 million a month. And they take it easy for 3-4 months. And 5 years down the line, they lost everything. Why? They lost gratitude. Another thing that's very important to me is when people become successful, it's even more important as you build and as you grow and as you gain success. It's even more important to get close to God. The problem is most people that become successful slowly disconnect from God and they give the credit to themselves.
They become their own God.
100%. And they become so arrogant, and God at some point will humble you. 1,000.
Yeah, I believe it.
God will. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it over and over and over and over. Keep in mind, we have thousands of people we talk to, hundreds of clients, and we see it. We see it all the time. That's why when we coach people, the first thing I tell them, hey, listen, if you're going to coach with me, we got to get the priority straight. Because if you're going to chase the money, but you're going to sacrifice God, you're going to sacrifice your values, you're going to sacrifice your family, you're going to sacrifice your kids, you're going to end up in a divorce. And then you're going to look back with all the money in the world. You're going to look back and you're going to be miserable. You're going to hate yourself. And that's when suicide thoughts comes in, because you lost everything that you thought you were chasing the right thing, but you lost the most important thing, which is the richest thing that you have, which is God, family, and good people in your life that you need to be taken care of. So one thing that I like to say, and I'm going to look at the camera because I think that's for the young men out there. When you start making money and when you become successful, remember to stay humble. Humility is huge. I know it's not easy. I'm guilty of it. I'm not speaking from I'm a perfect perspective, because I'm guilty of it myself. But you got to be self-aware. You got to remember that all the time. Remember that you are blessed. God is choosing you to do some good. Never take the credit away from him and give it to yourself, because he will freaking humble you. And a lot of people make that mistake. A lot of people make that mistake. So I know I went on a rant, but
no, I love it, man.
I do too.
I'll let you get back on track.
Good stuff. Well, I would love to hear how Savanna would define success from your perspective.
I like the phrase that you said. Can you repeat it? Because I want to remember that.
Achieving your full potential without compromising your values.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's the same. I mean, for me, success in my like personal life, would just a happy and healthy family is all I want.
It's funny you say that, because sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It just reminded me when I moved to LA and I used to do fitness modeling and I used to do fighting, and I've had some crazy offers, stupid money offered.
Oh my gosh.
From the modeling, hey, you got to do Calvin Klein underwear. I'm like, I don't need to, even though I mean I have no problem being in my underwear. I don't care, but taking a paycheck just for you to sexualize me is like, it's weird to me, right? Got offers for freaking porn, you name it, it's crazy, gay sex, like gay porn. It's like, I'm serious, it's
Yeah.
crazy. And that's when you realize that, holy shit. And that, to me, that's why sex workers and women that do OnlyFans, porn, whatever, they're compromising their values for what they think is success, and they end up being miserable, and they're shooting themselves in the foot.
That's why I'm not impressed by money.
I love that. You're not impressed by money. That's a very interesting topic to me, because I agree with you. And but I also believe that, you know, if you have the opportunity to make as much money as you can without compromising your values, you really need to go for it.
Yeah, take the opportunity.
Right, because of the impact that you have, you know, that you can have, and the good that you can use for other people. I'm going to give you an example. I'm speaking with a mentor. I'm in Florida, doing good, $500,000 a year. Life is good. I don't need more. I'm comfortable, right? And I'm like, and he's telling me, dude, you should do more. I'm like, no, man. And again, that goes back to, what is gratitude? I thought I knew what gratitude was. And he said to me, dude, what are you doing? You can do so much more. I'm like, man, I'm very good. God gave me more than I deserve. Everything is good. I have the house. I have the everything. I have everything, right? And he's like, and I'm like, I'm grateful. He's like, no, you're not grateful. I'm like, what do you mean I'm not grateful? He said to me, if I was to think like you, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now. Let's say donating to certain charities, helping certain people. Because he's very, very successful. He's like, if I was thinking like you, I would have stopped at $10 million. Because at $10 million a year, I have a good life, house, private jets, whatever, or I fly private. Life is good. I don't need more. How do you think I went from 10 to 150 million? I had to disconnect from the money. I had to make it no longer about me. So part of success to me is also realizing that it's no longer about you.
Yeah.
It's not just you, your wife, your kids. It's the rest of the world. You know, yes, they're the priority, but after that, you don't get to get comfortable. You don't get to get comfortable because your wife is taken care of, because your kids are taken care of, because you have everything. Because there's so much more you can do. And he said to me, you're not grateful. You're actually being selfish and comfortable. I'm like, what do you mean I'm selfish? I'm grateful. God gave me more than I deserve. He said, no. Think about this. You're making 500. You can make 5 million. How many more people can you help? How many families can you feed? How many charities can you open? How many people can you hire? You know what I mean? And so I just want to make sure that when we're talking about money and, you know, not being impressed by money, I love that, especially from a female perspective, to be honest with you. But from a man's perspective, I want them to go like psycho. I want them to be hungry. I want them to, again, achieve the full potential.
Yeah. But I like how you reverted it back to the fact that you can help so many people in that way. I think complacency is a disease, and it's like huge in our culture. And God calls us out of complacency. Like, he doesn't want us to be like, yeah, I hit my financial goal, I'm going to stop there. And I've seen it happen with so many people. I've seen it happen with so many business owners that I know, where they're like, yeah, my bills are paid for. I have a couple employees, their bills are paid for. I have whatever I need in my business. I'm going to just stop growing. And they get complacent. Right. And that causes so many problems, not only in their businesses, but in their families. It causes problems with their employees. It's a disease where it's like you almost become like lazy is the word I would use. 100%.
And it causes problem with their happiness. You're not fulfilled when you're not growing.
Yeah.
You're not fulfilled. Like I always tell people, you will never be depressed if you have progress in your life. Never. You always need to have progress. I don't care what it is. You always got to go for progress. Progress will cure all your depressions, all your problem, all your sadness. You got to keep growing. Another thing that you said, they stay stagnant. There's a study on that. When you do stay stagnant, you're actually regressing.
Yeah.
It's impossible to stay the same. Number one, because the world is moving so fast. Number two, because your competition is innovating, is adding new tools. You know, technology is growing. So you can't just stay stagnant because you're going to get crushed. You know what I mean? So, I love what you said. Complacency is a disease. I like that.
One thing I love that it says in the Bible is a man without vision shall perish, you know? And I think a lot of men, they don't have a vision, or maybe they once did. They used to dream, they used to think big, and then they get to a certain point, whether it's what you said or anything else, and they stop thinking big, you know, and they fall into that trap. And I think it can happen at any level, you know, any level in the game, but remembering what got you there is super, super important, and always just remembering you can do more. If you're in that position, then like you said, God gave you the potential to do more, and by making the decision to not do that, you're gonna fall out of gratitude.
I think you're being disrespectful to God if you have the potential to do something and you're not doing it, because He's giving you that opportunity.
Yeah, He puts it right in front of you. Also, there's a verse I love that says that a man who doesn't provide is worse than an unbeliever, Well, what happens to an unbeliever?
Could you repeat that one?
Yeah, say that
A
again.
man who doesn't provide is worse than an unbeliever. I'm not quoting that word for word, but that's literally what the verse says.
Yep.
That's good.
And like what happens to an unbeliever? They go to hell. So if a man who doesn't provide is worse than an unbeliever, I'm like,
That says a
well,
lot.
what happens to you? That's what what men are called to do. And it's a beautiful thing. Like that's why God created men and he created women for a different reason. And I think it's a beautiful thing.
100%. How old is your husband?
22.
What do you think of age gap between men and women? 10-year gap, 15-year gap?
I mean, my
How do you feel
parents
about
are
it?
11 years apart.
Yeah, mine are 10 years apart.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Okay, so when a woman
Personally.
says, oh, he's manipulating her, he wants her to be young because he wants to control her because she doesn't have any life experience, what's your rebuttal to that? To the feminists that usually say these things.
I mean, so there's a little bit of truth to that. And I'll tell you this. When women are younger, their value is higher. And that's just the truth. Like they're more fertile, they are more youthful, they're more beautiful in society. Like that's just part of it. So of course, men most of the time are gonna want younger women. But I don't think it's because they're trying to brainwash them or groom them. I just think your perceived value as a woman when you're younger is higher. Just like a man that makes a lot of money, like his perceived value is higher in society.
I love that. So when you look at society and you look at the West in general, 100% what you said is true. Women's prime usually 18 to 24. Men's prime is usually 28 to 35 up to 40. And the way society has brainwashed women to, instead of finding the right man in their prime, they waste their prime. And by the time they're 30, 32, they want a man in his prime. But the guy in his prime did not just go and have fun and party and used his youth to have fun, because again, he's got different gifts, right? He's been working for 10 years, he's been sacrificing everything, and now that he is in his prime, you want him to wife you up. You've given your prime to probably, I mean, the example that you gave earlier, 100 different men or 10, 20, whatever it is. You can't expect a man to give you his prime when you've given your prime to people that you never wanted to be with or marry or anything like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, also there is science behind the fact that when women spend those years partying and sleeping around, their ability to pair bond with their husband like goes down significantly.
Yep.
And that can cause a lot of destruction to a
100%.
marriage. Yeah.
100%. I love that. Okay, so you don't have a problem with the age gap in general.
No, I mean, I think you see a lot of 18-year-olds marrying like 65-year-old men, and obviously there's
that can get
probably
weird.
a reason
Yes,
for
yes,
that.
yes.
But age gaps in general, no, I don't see a problem with it.
Understood. What do you think about homosexuality?
It's a sin. It's
You
against
believe it's a
God.
sin? I feel like I'm
Yeah,
speaking with I feel like I'm talking to Candace right now. I love
Well,
that.
that's a huge compliment.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So you think it's a sin? Or you believe it's a sin?
It is a sin, like factually.
It is a sin.
It's not natural.
But what if they're
Like,
not? What if they're not hurting anybody?
They are.
How?
I mean, gay people don't contribute anything to society at all. Like you can't create children. And it's actually, if they do decide to get married, quote unquote, like sign a contract, it's not a marriage either. It's not, by definition, it's not marriage.
But what if they're helping people? What if they're making a lot of money? What if they're donating to charities? What if they're adopting children?
It's gay.
The adopting children part, and then I don't think they should be allowed to adopt children.
Really?
Period. No.
Why not?
No, I mean, there was just a lesbian couple that beat a 5-year-old son to death in their garage, to where he's like in a coma in a hospital right now, because I can't remember exactly what the toddler did, but like because they hate men so much.
Is that why?
I'm laughing because it's like insane
Right.
that they beat this kid to death.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Also, there was a gay couple with like they adopted 2 kids, and those kids are in like rainbow t-shirts and they're like smiling together. It's unnatural. And there's, lesbian couples and gay couples doing IVF. There's one lesbian couple that's really popular on TikTok, and I don't know the name because I don't watch crap like that. But they're doing like IVF. One of the lesbian couples is a surrogate. So she's like carrying the child, but this is so beyond me. I can't even, you're playing God, but they're doing like IVF to create this baby. she's like a surrogate for it. She's carrying the baby that they created with some other random man using both of their DNA. She's carrying it. She's going to deliver it. The other one is going to be like the mom in the relationship. It's all so weird. And it's not natural to me.
Okay, I agree with these examples. They're horrible. But what about, I mean, the exception doesn't necessarily make the rule. That doesn't mean that every gay couple is doing that. We can use the same argument for, men and women. There's a lot of abusing, people that abuses their children.
Sure.
As examples.
Sure, but you're already setting that child up for failure because there's so much science behind the fact that children who have a present mom and present dad in the home genuinely, like, they do better in society than
That is correct.
Than two dads. I couldn't imagine being raised by two men. That would, like, I wouldn't be the woman that I am today with being raised by two men. Just like the fact that not having a father present in the home and being raised by a single mother causes a lot of damage to children. It's the same fact, like being raised by two women or being raised by two men. It's not natural. It doesn't work.
100%. There are stats on that show 85% of men in prison were raised by single mothers because there was no father in the household. I agree with you. One of the arguments that I like to make because I had this conversation with a gay man actually. We're not hurting anybody. Who cares if we're doing it behind closed doors? Blah blah blah. And I was like, so if you're not hurting anybody, does that mean it's okay? He said, yeah, of course. I'm like, okay, but you're hurting society. You're not reproducing. He's like, well, what if we adopt? There's a lot of people in needs of parents and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, so let's use the argument. Let me agree with you that you're not hurting anybody just for a quick second. All right. So what about a father and a daughter having sex? Let's say the dad is older, but the daughter is 18 plus and she's consenting. They're not hurting anybody. They're both okay. What would you say? He's like, well, no, but there's a big difference because he's got a power over her, the dynamic. He's raised her. He's brainwashed her. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me also give that one to you, even though I don't agree. Let me give you another example. What about incest? A brother and a sister getting together. They're both consenting. They're both okay with that. And he was like,
no, it's not okay.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when he couldn't argue. So my point is, you thinking you're not hurting anybody doesn't mean you're not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
And if we're going to use that logic, then we have to be consistent.
Yeah.
If you're going to be consistent with this logic, then you have to be okay with incest. You have to be okay with a brother and a sister. You have to be okay with an older man with his daughter who's already an adult, who's making her own decision and consenting. You can't make the argument, oh, they're not hurting anybody. It doesn't make any sense.
Also, the more we accept, the more we're going to accept. So 100%. First, it was homosexuality. Then it was the whole LGBTQIA spectrum. Then it was transgenderism. Now it's kids becoming transgender. What's going to be next? Pedophilia? Like, that's literally the track that we are down, where everything is going to be accepted.
1000%. And there are studies on this, actually, that are normalizing pedophilia very, very slowly. And you see that. And they're also normalizing incest with porn. They're always talking, stepsister, blah, blah, blah. Pedophilia is being very, very normalized because they're, promoting and the children being able to be on social media, posting, a 12-year-old doing TikTok dances and stuff like that. Who's on social media? A bunch of pedophiles. Yeah. This is America. I mean,
yes,
it's very, very scary, the path in which we're headed. That's why I was happy Trump, became president, hoping that he restored some of the faith, the churches, all these things. So far he hasn't lived up to my expectations. So
agreed.
That's unfortunate. With that being said, it's very, very, very sad. We call that the ABCD community. ABCD. You gotta show you
inside joke.
It's hilarious.
My brain is very solution oriented in general. So when I hear these things, I'm just like, what the heck? Like, because we talk about other cultures, other countries that don't have these problems, or if they do, it's extremely minimal, right? And to me, I'm just like, how long until? I mean, you could argue the West is already crumbling and falling, right? But how long until we're just wiped out completely on this side of the world? And what do you guys think are some things that would need to be done in order to actually go in the right direction?
I think it goes back to what we covered already. Traditional roles, conservative, religious, close to God, being family oriented, not being materialistic, social media honestly has destroyed everything. And I believe that if I were to control the world for 24 hours, I would shut down social media.
Yeah.
And people will have to get back to their natural habitat. I would remove all the technology that facilitates a lot of things, and people and women will have to go back to their traditional gender roles.
In a lot of countries, it's literally illegal to be gay, right? So
Yeah,
do you think
absolutely.
those hard lines would need to be drawn?
Yeah.
We need to get that
Yes.
extreme to fix it.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
so. If I were president, unfortunately, I don't care about the viewers that is going to be offended. I would make it illegal. And if you want to do something, make it in the comfort of your own home. I don't need to know about it. Society doesn't need to know about it. That's between you and or you and God, even if you don't believe in him. And at the end of the day, you deal with the consequences. However, normalizing it, putting it in front of children, and making it cool to be gay, because there's a lot of cases where, I was born with it. A lot of cases people choose to be, and it's funny because there's a chick that reacted to Trump being elected, and she was freaking out. She was screaming, and all of a sudden she said, "All right, guys, if there was a time for you to hate men and to become lesbian, now it is the time." I was like, I thought it was a choice. I thought it was a choice. It's a decision now. That makes sense.
Well, that too. I mean, did you guys see, like, right after Trump won, the 4B movement started, where they were shaving their heads and saying that they weren't going to have sex with men, period.
I have not seen that.
Oh yeah, right after Trump won. I mean, I think this movement started in like Korea or something, but then like the American women adopted it after Trump won, screaming and crying on TikTok. They were shaving their heads, like crying. Like, what kind
of crazy?
That is
mental illness.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like, we're going to become ugly. We're not going to wear makeup. We're going to shave our heads and say that, we're no longer going to have sex with men. Everybody get your vibrators because we're going on sex strike.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Insanity.
Yeah.
Yep. And that is why America has been going down this rabbit hole for the past 15 years, unfortunately. Used to be amazing. I mean, used to be an amazing country from what I hear from my dad in the 70s, 80s, or even before that. So it's unfortunate. And you can see it. People are less happy despite the fact that they have more. Mm-hmm. They're depressed. They're comparing too much. They're materialistics. They live on social media. And they have no progress in their lives. And the depressed people, I always tell people, if you want to cure depression, and if you're depressed, let me take you to West Africa for a week. I'll cure your depression. You will be in survival mode. You'll have to go work. You'll have to get shit done. And you'll suddenly start to like yourself and respect yourself.
No time to think about being depressed.
Well, because you have purpose and you're not sitting and scrolling and watching other people's lives all day.
The depressed people are the most entitled one usually. They're the one that don't have to worry about surviving on food, water, electricity, a roof over their head. They're sitting usually in a nice little comfortable bedroom with AC on. They have the technology. They don't have to worry about food. They don't have to worry about water. And let me take you to West Africa and I'll fix you. I got you. Just reach out to me. Send me a
solution,
DM.
actually.
Yeah, we'll fix your problems. Don't worry.
I love it.
Ali's boot camp. That would be what that is.
That's good stuff.
Very cool. Savanna, is there anything in your heart that you wanna share that you haven't probably be able to share on the podcast or anywhere else, or something that you haven't really shared on your social media?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I would say, like, overall, for women listening specifically, like, if you're looking at your life and you're trying to figure out where you want your life to go, when you're like 65 years old and you're retired and you're sitting on your back porch and like your husband is next to you and you have grandkids playing out in the yard, like, your career and your title and whatever else you did in your early 20s isn't going to matter anymore. So when you look at that, it's like, what do you want to pour yourself into right now? Like, do you want to spend your prime years chasing after another MBA, getting another degree, getting another title, when all of that is just going to waste away and it's temporary? Or do you want to like build a life and build generational wealth?
That is an amazing message. I want to add to that. Men don't give a shit how much money you make.
Yes.
We don't fucking care. It's
a fact.
Honestly, to me, it's a turnoff.
Yeah.
That's just the reality. All right. So you thinking that you want to compete, you thinking that you're going to impress somebody by, I don't know, being a boss bitch, having all this money. I am not impressed. And I know you don't care about my opinion, but you will care in 20 years when you're alone, miserable with your 17 cats, hating yourself, talking to your other single friends that are also miserable, depressed. And I pray for you.
Yeah. I mean, if a woman, like when you first meet a woman and she brings up either her career or what her zodiac sign is, run.
Zodiac sign is another.
Yeah, I'm an attorney and I'm a Capricorn.
That's why you're a bitch. Is that right? That's crazy.
Yeah, so being a Capricorn.
What do you think of that? What do you think of the whole Zodiac thing?
It's witchcraft. I mean, it's just like another thing for people to put their identity into, right? Like we'll put our identity into everything but Christ. We'll put our identity into material things. And then we'll put them into zodiac signs. Oh, what sign are you? Is that why you're such a bitch? Like, that's why you're a Capricorn? I knew it.
That's why we're not compatible.
That's why I'm manipulative and a narcissist.
That's crazy.
Well, maybe you're just a terrible person and like you need to open your Bible.
You need help.
Yeah. That's what I think of zodiac signs.
I love it. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap up. Thank you so much for watching. Savanna, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having
Flying
me.
all the way to Scottsdale, Arizona to make this happen.
Absolutely.
A lot of value. If you guys really listen to everything we talked about, I genuinely believe there's at least one or two things that if you apply, will change your life. So thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. We're going to put Savanna's Instagram and all her socials in the descriptions. Go follow, show some love, and you're welcome.